Mr. President, I rise today to speak of a largely unknown aspect of the Vietnam War and a too neglected aspect. I'm sorry, can you put the other one up first, please? Just the other one. I rise today to highlight Air America and its role in military conflicts from the 1940s through the Cold War. Air America, which was previously known as the Civil Air Transport, operated under a shroud of mystery, intrigue, and at times purposeful deceit to allow the organization to continue covert operations. Its members lived the motto of anything, anywhere, anytime, professionally. Now, Mr. President, if you look at that picture, you think that must be an Army helicopter pilot doing a rescue on an active battlefield. No, that pilot was a civilian who was a contractor of sorts with the United States government flying that helicopter to rescue that soldier or that Marine, not an enlisted person. Its members, again, lived the motto, anything, anywhere, anytime, professionally, including rescuing those from battlefields. They garnered respect as a cargo and charter airline pilots during the secret war in Laos in the 1960s and 70s. And as the war progressed, the U.S. government increasingly relied upon Air America pilots to conduct search and rescue missions of downed U.S. Military pilots, often in heavy combat areas with no weapons of their own. The daily risk that they took to save others earned them the reputation as the most shot-at airline. When speaking, next one, please. And I shouldn't laugh, but there is kind of, I'm sure, a sort of gallows humor they felt when they said that most shot-at airline. Here is a depiction of a plaque in Richardson, Texas, that President Reagan dedicated. And on that are the names of those who died as Air America pilots. And at the plaque dedication in Dallas, President Ronald Reagan said, quote, "Although free people everywhere owe you more than we can hope to repay, our greatest debt is to your companions who gave the last full measure of devotion." And when President Reagan recognized the contributions that these pilots made to the United States, Air America has received mixed support throughout its history. The Department of Defense and the CIA, among others, have argued that Air America pilots were not veterans, saying that their heroic rescues of American soldiers were not part of their contracts or within the scope of their mission. So these sentiments have kept Air America pilots from receiving veterans benefits, veteran status, and the benefits that come with the status. This needs to change, and this need to change is based on declassified materials which show that these pilots are deserving of such recognition for their exploits. Now, who were these dedicated Americans serving in Air America? Most crews had military training. Many bore the scars of fighting on the ground in Korea and Vietnam. They were former POWs and special forces, all tough as nails. There were also crop dusters and water bombers who fought forest fires. There were smoke jumpers and flight mechanics. Thousands of personnel were indigenous people, both male and female. Air America members came from all walks of life to answer the call to serve. Military aircraft were provided to employees to conduct combat-related activity in areas where the U.S. Armed Forces could not go due to treaties. They served a considerable risk. Numerous employees died or were seriously injured. However, their sacrifices were not given the same recognition as military members. Lowell Perkle was killed when an RPG hit his helicopter and it burned to the ground. Sadly, it took years for his remains to be repatriated and sent to Honolulu. When Lowell's wife, Deborah, insisted he be buried in Arlington, she was informed that Lowell was ineligible because he died not in the military, but as part of Air America. He would eventually be buried in Arlington due to his previous military service, though the work in both engagements was essentially the same. Now, let me just pause for a second and look at this poster. From 1962 to 1975, Air America inserted and extracted U.S. military personnel and provided combat support across the entire Vietnam theater. Air America rescued hundreds of Americans and stranded Vietnamese including the last out of Saigon in April 1975. Who can forget these dramatic photographs? Air America pioneered remote landings during the Vietnam War to resupply U.S. troops and key allies like the Hmong in Laos. And Air America pilots were the only known civilian employees to operate non-FAA certified military aircraft in combat zone. And lastly, as I previously mentioned, here is the memorial plaque in Richardson, Texas, honoring the 146 Air America veterans killed. These men served anything, anywhere, anytime, professionally. Now, again, it has been denied that they actually performed these military duties. But once more, declassified documents show that the United States government owes Air America, and therefore its members, status as veterans. In August 1965, Secretary of State Dean Rusk wrote, quote, "Political factors require that Air America helicopters continue to assume responsibility for search and rescue operations in Laos." A year prior, Ambassador to Laos, Leonard Unger said, quote, "Search and rescue is a crucial factor in maintaining the morale of pilots, and there's no prospect at this juncture of establishing effective search and rescue procedures without the use of both civilian Air America and U.S. military personnel." The stories go on, but I'll add one more. CIA Assistant General Counsel James Harris wrote to the Civil Service Commission, quote, "In the case of Air America, it would be virtually impossible to preserve the cover story had all the corporate employees been advised that they were really employees of the United States government." It's time for the U.S. government to set the record straight about Air America. Their service is commended by all who served with them, especially by those service members whose lives were saved by Air America. We owe them more than a debt of gratitude. I urge my colleagues to continue the story of these brave pilots and work towards providing the recognition they deserve as federal employees, including granting veteran status and the associated benefits. I yield the floor.